It's Tuesday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns 5 Points podcast presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. I am Beck. He is Thomas. We're in the same room today. Thomas is up in Greenville to celebrate his own birthday, which was last Friday, our mother's birthday, which is today, and my wife's birthday, which is next Monday. So celebrating 3 birthdays with a little family dinner tonight. But getting into our day job, our second jobs, the podcast, we got to record an episode. Got a lot going on. Also, shout out my Miami Heat. Welcome home to the Greek Freak. We're about to fuck the league up next year, but that's a side topic. We got some rants we want to go on today. This is going to be more of Thomas talking and then me talking, less conversational. We just wanted to get some things off of our chest that were bothering us that have come up in conversations with friends, things that are making news in the college football and sports world. So I'm going to give Thomas the floor for his first rant, and then I'll get into mine. And we have some miscellaneous stuff at the end of the episode. Some cool stuff to talk about as well. So take the floor, T.
Yeah, before my first rant, I want to do something that I have said that I'm going to start doing, and I should do a better job of, because I have people that come in to touchdowns pretty regularly now that have said they've been keeping up with the podcast, and I honestly think that Beck and Ross don't believe me sometimes, just because they kind of feel like we have, this small devoted following of people that really know us, and that's it. But I kind of want to push back on that. So today I want to shout out Henry Hodge. I appreciate your patronage at Touchdowns, and I'm glad that you and some of your buddies have started listening, and just wanted to shout you out. Hope that
Shout out to Henry.
Hope this shout out gets you some clout in the office, and yeah, I need to keep doing this as people take the effort to say something to me about the podcast when I'm at the bar. My rant is, it has gotten to the point of the off season where talking season really starts to heat up. There is really nothing else on sports wise. The NBA just ended, NHL just ended, and it is the time of the year where high school recruiting has picked up. We're in a dead period, so most of the visits and OBs and camps for this summer are over, and the Gamecocks are sitting somewhere in the 60s on 247 right now, the team composite. And I know this because my good friend Spence Taylor, has texted me something about recruiting rankings and Clemson landing commits, or just something about us or them just about every day for the past 3 weeks. And I'm sure that as South Carolina fans, we all have our main op. Spence is mine. And, I have earned that from him by being that for him as well. I am the first to hit him up when anything goes wrong for them. I think he turned off his phone. He must not have been getting service in the first half of the Clemson LSU game last year. He finds a way to not be available when something bad happens for them. His service was shoddy during the Troy game as well. But yeah, this is me kind of just speaking to him, maybe speaking to the Carolina listeners that are going through a similar thing with your Clemson buddies. But I did some digging just now because of this rant. And, maybe Clemson fans have forgotten that they had a top 10 class in May of last year, but they finished 7 spots behind us at 21 with an average recruiting ranking of 88.45 on 247, whereas our average was 89.95. We signed 19 high school commits last year. They signed 23. We still had, a class ranked 7 spots ahead of them. Fast forward to this year, let me read that out one more time before I switch gears. Last year's class for Clemson finished with an average of 88.45. Fast forward to this year, they are sitting at 11th on the team composite, and their average is 88.91. They have 23 commits already. I don't know if they're going to take a handful more, but if you're looking at it, Southern Cal, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State are all currently behind them. Those are all programs that are going to jump them when they fill out the rest of their classes. And yes, we are lower right now than we were this time last year. But like I tried to tell Spence, this time last year, we're going to get 5 to 10 commits by the time the season starts. We got a commit today. Welcome home, James Ross, offensive lineman from South Carolina. We have a big announcement next week, July 1st. Joshua Dobson, 5-star cornerback, top 10 player in the country. He's going to be the jewel of the class if he signs with us. And it's between us, Michigan, Auburn, Texas A&M. So, yes, we're in the 60s, but we have 9 commits. We're not going to take 9 high school kids. And if we do take a smaller class, then who cares if it's not ranked as high? Like, that is something that I have mentioned to Spence, that, the old way of thinking where, okay, we signed a top 10 class, so we're going to have a really good team 2 years from now. That was barely true before the portal, and it's certainly not true now. When you're thinking about how you build a team, really it's what are your needs, and like how do the best pieces from this class fit into your current team. So, like, for example, Dylan Stewart, he's about to be a true junior. He was a part of the past 2 teams, and this will be the final team that he's a part of for South Carolina, and then he's going to be a top 10 pick and be in the NFL. Most of the class that he signed with, they are just now becoming starters on this team. Whether they redshirted their first year or not, they are just now starting to become starters. So when you're looking at a class, you have to take into account what is on the team, and because of the portal now, like, for example, another powerhouse that has a bad recruiting ranking as of today is Alabama, and DeBoer has been catching a lot of heat about that. Well, they've signed a top 5 class the last 2 years, and DeBoer has already said, we're focused on retaining our roster right now. We're going to take a small high school class. We like what we currently have on the roster, and we will plug holes via the portal. So, yeah, they're probably not going to finish with a top 10 class this year. Does that mean that Alabama can't recruit anymore? No. So I think that because of the way that college football has changed, this and look, I'll be honest, if we had the 11th ranked class and Clemson was in the 60s, I would be ribbing Spence the exact same way. But I also would know that we have 23 commits and they have 9, and we're probably going to finish within 5 spots of each other anyways. I want Dobson. If we do not get Josh Dobson, I'm going to be butthurt, and I'm going to really start to sour on this class as a whole. But if you're a Gamecock fan and you have Clemson fans that will not stop bothering you about high school recruiting, I do not think it is time to hit the panic button yet. Rant done.
Not time to hit the panic button. I mean, I'm with you. We've talked about it. The high school recruiting stuff. It's one of those things. If you're hot on the trail, you're gassing it up. If you're not, you're not. It's just like PFF rankings for me. If a South Carolina player is ranked high in PFF, I gas it up. And if they're not, then I say PFF is a fraudulent organization. So I think that's, again, it skews to how narratives that you want to drive. But yeah, well done, Thomas. And yeah, hopefully Spence hears that. I'm sure he's going to enjoy the fact that you took 8 or 9 minutes to address him on the pod. But
I mean, he's and I do it to him too. But like his most recent troll is like, he just says that we're about to hire Jimbo Fisher. Like, he's like, Shane's on the hot seat. Like, he's like, the recruits aren't committing because they know that Shane's done after this year, but Jimbo will fix everything. I'm like, no outlet is reporting that we are interested in Jimbo Fisher. I think that's just the name that he thought was funniest, and that's a good strategy. I'll have to remember that when Clemson can afford to buy Dabo out.
Yeah, it's good trolling. Shout out to Spence, your main op. I got some shit that I want to get off my chest about, and I meant to do this on a previous episode, but the Kevin Schnall whirlwind got us caught up, and this is something that actually came out a couple weeks ago that I've been meaning to address. It was reported that we paid UNC $1 million to cancel the home and home series in football. That really grinds my gears because I got fucking money bags over here that all he cares about is money. We need more money. Invest. And then we're literally giving a rival program $1 million to walk away from playing them on the field. This was a disastrous move by the administration. I think it's a pathetic, just cowardly. Like, what are we thinking? Thomas, do you think we are a better program than UNC in football?
Absolutely. I mean, I get, as I have kind of stated multiple times, like, I don't want this to happen. I want more. You and I are on the same page about what we want to see in college football. But, I am just kind of trying to play devil's advocate to you that now with the 9-game SEC slate and us playing Clemson every year, that Donati and other ADs in his position are going to not schedule these P4 games, and any of the ones that they have previously scheduled, they're going to try and get out of. I think that North Carolina would have been a easy. Were we slated to play them in 28?
Yeah, 27 and 28.
I could be wrong, but they were terrible last year. I don't think they're going to be much better this year. I think Belichick will probably get fired at the end of this season, and we would have been, playing a brand new coach with a depleted roster. So yeah, I don't.
This is what I'm saying. We just handed $1 million check to a program that recruits against us. in the transfer portal, recruits against us out of the high school ranks, just to not play them because, like, when we should be considered the superior program in the matchup, and that should not scare us. Like, we should be seeing UNC, yes, as a harder game than Bowling Green, but a game that's very winnable nonetheless. And now we're going to pay $1 million to walk away from them when apparently our football program lacks financial resources. I just think it's a complete joke.
Let me ask this. So it was a home and home with them?
Yeah.
I assume that the away game that we had with them, we're going to play some cupcake at home instead. So maybe we are recouping that because we get an extra home game. That is the only thing I will say about that. I still think it's a scared move. I still think we could have beat them relatively easily, but I don't necessarily think that it is $1 million loss if we are getting a home game back. You know, I don't know what we generate for those small games. I know that we probably make more than $1 million for an SEC home game, but I don't, because we have to pay that little cupcake team to come get.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but if we generate more in ticket sales, I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, but we also just handed UNC. It's not that we just lost $1 million. We handed it to UNC, who can then turn around, and when we're competing for the number one player in North Carolina that lives in Charlotte, and he's an hour and a half from our campus, and he's been a fan of UNC his whole life because he's from North Carolina, and they have our money to beat us in a recruiting battle for him.
I mean, the optics on it are not.
It's fucking. It's terrible. I'm already not a fan of canceling these games in general, but to me, it's a horrible look to cancel, like literally pay the other school money to cancel a series, especially one where I feel like we're far superior. I hated this move, and I wanted to address it a couple weeks ago when I was way more mad about it. But ultimately, this is a bad move. But again, it's kind of what he's referring to with the scheduling, and everyone's doing it. You're seeing, and another thing with the scheduling that I want to bitch about is these neutral site games. Georgia and Florida State just announced a game in Nashville in 2028. Who does that benefit? Because it sure as hell isn't the Florida State fans or the Georgia fans. They gave up a home and home when Florida State would have come to Athens. Georgia would have gone to Tallahassee. It's just, I hate this. They need to do away with.
What is the push for the neutral site games? Because it's not like it changes the TV.
They get corporate sponsors for the, like, to me, that's where I think the money is like the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. So Chick-fil-A is paying money.
So because they can't call it the Chick-fil-A kickoff game if they play at home and home, that's why they do the neutral site?
That I don't know exact. And again, if they could call it the Chick-fil-A game in Athens, I don't know why they wouldn't do that. But like, it's not good for that's the number one thing. It's not good for the fans. Like, it would be so much better for Florida State fans to host Georgia. It would be cool for Georgia fans to have a game in Tallahassee to experience a new college town, new stadium, new pageantry. Florida State fans are pissed. They just did a brand new renovation at Doak Campbell.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not even hooked. Georgia would be they don't play many big games in the ACC outside of, Clemson, Miami. They have a few, but Georgia coming to Tallahassee would be the biggest game in Tallahassee in years.
Yeah.
And those fans don't get to experience that at home. They have to travel to Nashville. I mean, it's just, you're going to run off, and it all comes back to, like, I don't know, the only way sports and entertainment sustain and why that there's these crazy NIL, why there's these crazy contracts in professional sports is because of the fans. And if you lose the fans, then the money will dry up. So it doesn't matter all these plays that they're making to make money and drive revenue is ultimately going to push fans away from the game, in my opinion. And that's not a good thing. I think these neutral games suck. Like, who cares if I'm a Georgia fan or a Florida State fan? Like, yes, I maybe go to Nashville. Nashville's a cool town. It's going to be in the new Titan Stadium. Okay, cool. But like, when the other option was I get to see Florida State come between the hedges, like, it's the same thing with South Carolina. Like, we had those neutral site games in Charlotte with NC State and UNC. I would have much rather – it was fun as hell when UNC came to Columbia when we were in college. That was an opening night game, fun, excitement. Tons of kids from North Carolina go to the University of South Carolina and, like, that grew up UNC fans. Like, there's just all these reasons to have it on campus. And I think, like we've talked about in the playoff, there should be more on-campus games in the playoff. I think there should be more, as I hopefully drive home these non-conference matchups and the expansion of the non-conference schedule and how more Power 4 teams should be playing Power 4 teams. I also want to stress that I don't want neutral site Power 4 versus Power 4 as much. A couple, maybe do a couple on opening weekend, but that's it. Like, college games in NFL stadiums suck. Going to Bank of America is an easy drive for me. Tons of people. The tailgating's fun because it's a big reunion. A lot of the times those neutral site Charlotte games were, and that's a lot of fun. But the actual game atmosphere, it's nothing compares to being on campus in a college environment. So another thing that just is frustrating, and it's like everyone's doing it. So it's hard to get off of this trend, just how everyone's eliminating not everyone, but a lot of teams are eliminating these intriguing, fun non-conference matchups. Now they're not eliminating them, but they're moving them to neutral site. Like, it's just the worst possible. They go the two things go hand in hand, like the cancellation of these games or moving them to neutral site. It's just both are completely wrong in my opinion and are going to hurt the game.
I'll say this. I definitely prefer home and homes to neutral site games. I especially, as a small business owner in Columbia, don't want South Carolina exporting any of our home games anywhere ever. But I think that you are maybe underestimating the resiliency of college football fans. There's not we both talked about what we would do if we had complete power, and it is looking like neither of us. Like, I like the number 12. I think it is inevitable that we're going to see 16 or 24. Hopefully, if we see that expansion, we do both get something that we both want, which is more playoff games on campuses. I think that if they expand the field to 24, we are going to see at least 2 rounds in college stadiums before they go neutral. So, you're going to have to take what you can get when you can get it. But, from where I am sitting today, there is nothing they can do to the sport that will get me to stop caring about whether South Carolina does well or not. Even if it's something that I hate or don't like, the things that are the only things that would piss me off to the point to where, like, I would consider like a boycott of sorts. If they cancel our game with Clemson, I would be so mad about that I would take some sort of stand. I don't know what I would do, but like, do not take that game away from me. And but then outside of that, it's like, I'm gonna watch all of our game. I'm gonna want us to win every game, and I care about us winning a national championship. Like, I know that a lot of people hate the jersey patches. People hate the advertisements on the field because it's more corporate. And yeah, that's not cool. That's not as cool as what it used to be. But I don't care if, you know, they start doing ad breaks in the stadium. Like, I mean, I don't want that. Let me clarify. I don't want that. But if they start doing that, I'm still going to go to the games when I'm available, and I'm still going to keep up with South Carolina football. There's nothing that is going to get you can't scare me away from that.
Well, and I think that's part. It is part of the problem is the loyalty of college football fans. And
to your point, there is a breaking point financially. Like, for example, if you're a Georgia fan and you have this game against FSU in Nashville, but then you are Georgia, so you're probably going to be in the playoff. There just aren't people that can afford to travel to Nashville, go to all the home games, and then buy 3 or 4 flights if you make it to the final that year. There are fans of every team that can afford to do all of that every year, but the casual fan cannot do that. So you're right that if you just continue to up the threshold of what it takes to just go to all the games for a normal fan, some fans will not be able to financially afford that. What is that breaking point? I don't know. And what happens to the sport once they make it so expensive that the common fan can't afford to participate in it in a regular way? I don't know that either. But
yeah,
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm getting at. You look at, I don't know, again, college football to me, it thrives on the pageantry. It thrives on the fact that it was put in our blood, but we went to the University of South Carolina. We walked around the campus. We took classes in the buildings. We were a part of, that's a community that we are literally a part of. Like, it's, in some of these professional towns, yes, you grow up, it's in your blood, and it feels similar, but it is different, and the traditions and stuff, I think, separate it from professional sports as well. But yeah, I just think a lot of what is happening is going away from what makes college athletics cool, enjoyable, and I think if they keep pushing, eventually, yeah, cool. Like, Williams-Brice is sold out with a bunch of corporate tickets, and people are there to circle jerk and don't care about the game.
Right. It's the wine and cheese crowd. It's, that's part of why our stadium is hard to play in, even though we have a lower capacity than a lot of these other stadiums, is because of the venom. You can really feel the hatred in the air, and I'm not knocking the renovation. I'm excited to see what the renovations look like. But yeah, if you have 10% of the stadium as these fancy boxes, there are going to be people in those boxes that can afford them, and it'll be good for the revenue, and it'll be good for all that. But they're not going to be screaming on third down. So there's a give and take. You got to find a way to play the money game, but not lose the atmosphere along with it. I think that's kind of been a knock on Bryant Denny, in that They are it's a really great environment when it's a big game that people care about and it's an exciting game, but it doesn't get up the same way. They're such a spoiled fan base, and they're so used to and accustomed to winning that it's probably not as loud or intimidating for a middle tier game in the same way that other stadiums might be.
Hell, even LSU this past year, and say what you want, we aren't a good team, so LSU fans are like, we don't care about playing y'all. Okay, like y'all's whole reputation is built off Death Valley at night. Shouldn't that mean, especially like in every game, it's a spectacle at night? Like it's your whole reputation, and it gets based off of one game a year against Alabama that y'all typically lose.
Yeah, it's like if you take the loudest game at Williams-Brice every season, that game is very loud. And I think that would be true of most teams. Like if you take the game that you beat the ranked team of as how you measure how ferocious your stadium environment is, like everybody's loud when they're beating a good team.
Yeah, it takes. But again, that's what, and we're a fan base. We're a hungry fan base. We haven't tasted the sweet victory much, so we go in always hopeful. Always, we have to be the difference. We have to be the difference. And like you said, with Alabama, it's like, all right, we're expecting to win this game. Like, we don't need to be involved in the game as much. We, just because we're better than the team we're playing, and it doesn't matter. So that's just, again, but we need to keep these games on campus, and we need to keep these stadiums, like, just ticket prices. I don't know. Like, again, it's happening in professional sports. Like, you can look around and NBA arenas, NFL stadiums, common people who are actually fans of the team can't afford tickets. And so you walk into a NBA arena or NFL stadium, and again, it's all corporate. It's not really fans. It's just people there because it's something to do, because it's a game.
It's a networking event.
Yeah, that shit sucks. And that is what's going to happen in college football, and that's what that's not what it's about, and I'll stress that. But it's a losing battle that I'm fighting, because I obviously have no power. But speaking from a fan's perspective, a real fan's perspective that actually cares about it, that's something that's going to piss me off as we continue to evolve college football. Like, am I as a fan going to grow further away from it? My loyalty will definitely be tested, and college football fans are some of the most loyal. And so, again, we might just get served a plate of shit and have to eat it. And a lot of college football fans will, myself included, but I'm not saying I want to eat the plate of shit, but that's what they're serving us with all these changes. One sport that's having a renaissance is college baseball. Oklahoma just won the national championship last night. Extremely, awesome NCAA tournament, and I think college baseball is kind of starting to peak in popularity. And something from the MLB, I think, is going to help college baseball even more. There's a proposal on the table to eliminate high school baseball players from the draft, and making baseball players eligible for the draft, MLB draft, after their sophomore year. This means more influx of talent into college baseball, which is a good thing. I think college baseball has long been like, it is a feeder, but it's not like the feeder that the college basketball and college football are into their respective professional leagues. Most of the time, a lot of the talent, if you're talented enough, these high school players are getting drafted right out of school or right out of high school, and then going into the farm systems. And I think people are starting to realize now, with the influx of money into college sports and college baseball, that hey, it might be a better deal for me to go play college ball. I can make a little money, and then I can go to the pros, because a lot of times these guys, their careers die in the farm system. And the farm system is not a fun place to be. I'm not speaking from experience, but typically what happens with these guys that are high draft picks out of high school, yes, they get a nice front loaded signing bonus, sometimes $1 million, 750. Definitely a very nice nest egg to begin your life, but you're going and making 15, 20K in the farm system. It's tough schedule. It's hard to it's hard to maintain a regular lifestyle. And I think a lot of these guys would much rather have a college experience. Like there's value to going to college and having the college experience, no matter where you are. And you're getting paid, and you're getting an education too to fall back on. When you do decide to call it quits in your career, you're making community with alumni and all of these good things that college is about. So I think this is huge for Gamecock fans out there. Like, if this rule was instituted, guys like Bryce Harper and Corey Seager, these types of guys, those are big names that have gone on to have great MLB careers in the big leagues. But
who was the kid from Somerville a couple of years ago? PJ Morlando or
PJ? Yep. And we had, shout out to Nick Schufo. He was a kid from Charleston. He made it up to the bigs, but he was a first round pick. Like, these guys are good enough to play in the majors, but again, it's very hard to make it to the majors. And so I think this idea of college baseball being that stepping stone where you have to have 2 years experience, and there's gonna be more talent, a larger talent pool in college, for these MLB teams. So I can see a lot of these guys going from college straight into double and triple A instead of these low single A organizations. And this will be.
Are they going to eliminate single A? Like, how is the farm system going to be able to survive this rule change? Are they just aren't going to have as much initial young talent on those teams?
Yeah, I think the farm system isn't changed. As far as I know, I mean, they're basically taking the draft from 20 rounds down to 12 rounds. So I guess there's less guys coming in each year, but I don't think that means that there would be a lack of players. There's still going to be players available, but you might have a guy you would have drafted going to college and you're drafting a different guy.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or filling your roster with a different guy. So I don't think there's going to be a lack of players per se, but just the talent discrepancy might be different. And yeah, it'll be interesting. But that's a good thought. I didn't think about that.
I mean, I kind of see this as in the same way that, like, NIL has allowed a lot of guys, the example I always use and probably will always use for us until there's just like a better one, which I don't know if there will ever be a situation like this again because of NIL, is Victor Hampton. Victor Hampton was a good player. He would have been a starter for us. This was pre-NIL, but he declared after his junior year because he wanted to try and get drafted and start making money off of his abilities to play football. And he ended up not getting drafted. And so, like, his career kind of essentially ended. But, had he been on it was the 2014 roster he would have been on, correct? I mean, that defense was terrible. That year, our offense was awesome. We probably scored high 30s points per game.
I think that was one of the best offenses in school history.
Dylan Thompson set the single season record for passing yards and I still think that stands to this day, but we couldn't stop a soul. And, I don't know if Victor Hampton being on that defense would have changed that. I don't think it would have hurt anything. He had been a starter on a great 2013 defense. In today's game, I think he comes back because, he would have been a starter. We can pay our starters well. Maybe he still declares. I don't know. But I think that this rule change for baseball is going to keep a lot of the elite talent in college for a couple of years. So all the college teams are going to be a lot better. I think that makes the sport better. And I don't have any complaints about it.
Yeah, I do think if this passes, it's a proposal, so it's not passed into Major League Baseball law, but it's something that I do think college baseball had a great tournament, a very exciting tournament that people were tuned into, and they probably corralled some new fans, and it's a fun sport, and we just got Kevin Schnall, so hopefully we'll be better at it, and the Gamecocks can enjoy the rise of college baseball as a popular sport. But yeah, I see good things coming in college baseball, and hopefully good things for the Gamecock team. But a couple miscellaneous things to wrap the episode. Shout out to Marique Fleming. He made the cut at the U.S. Open this past weekend. That's awesome. Played at Shinnecock, which is a tough course. Maybe didn't play as tough as it had in previous U.S. Opens, but for a guy to make the cut when there was some big names that missed the cut, excellent accomplishment for Marique Fleming. And shout out also to former Gamecock and Gamecock golf alum Keenan Husky. Monday qualified for the Punta Cana Championship this weekend. Go get him, Keenan. He's also a friend of the pod, friend of the family, and we are cheering for Keenan as he plays down in Punta Cana, and hopefully can have him on the podcast to talk golf, talk Gamecock football. For those that don't know, his family and ours share season tickets, so I get to see Keenan at a lot of the games. And so if you're listening, Keenan, I'll shoot you a text too, but we need to have you on the podcast before the season starts. Talk golf, talk Gamecock football. We'd love to do it. That's going to be a wrap on this episode. Happy birthday to Thomas. Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Anne-Marie. We will see y'all on the next one. As always, thank you very much for listening, watching, and wherever you watch or listen, please like, subscribe, interact with us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Say something to Thomas at the bar.
I will shout you out.
He will shout you out. Henry Hodge, shout out again.
If you say something to me about the podcast at the bar, I'll give you a shout out on the following episode. New policy.
Thank you so much for listening. Shout out the Cajun Cousins. We appreciate everyone. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.